Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we will be creating the cart page. So before we dive into creating the cart page, let's try to understand the experience that we are building. So here is the breakdown of our experience. So we would have a cart page where you will be able to see all the products that you have added in your cart, and we can see that the product tile that we are very familiar with has been updated to show some additional details. And this is something that we'll talk about as well. But overall the structure would look very similar to this one. And apart from the products being added, you would be able to see the total that is at the cart level. As you can see here, this is your cart total. And then product quantities, everything that you see here would be dynamic. So you will be able to update them. And once we change something, you will be able to see the change reflected immediately at a tile level as well as the cart level. Now, let's discuss the changes that we are targeting at a product tile level to accommodate this scenario. So instead of creating a new product tile just for cart specific scenarios, what we would do, we would enhance our existing product tile and add some conditional logic there. As we can see, we have this product image. Then you have your product title, which would remain as is. Then product price and quantity. This is a section that would come up conditionally when the product tile is loading in the cart page. And from here, you will be able to change the quantity of the product. And then we have your product details button, which is the exact same button that we have right now. Clicking on this will take you to the product details section. Then you have your remove from cart button. Clicking on this, as it mentions, will remove the product from cart. So with this understanding, let's dive into the code and cover what we have done so far. So far, we have created our project structure. We have the API folder where we have two variations of API, one using a normal fetch-based implementation and another using an Axios-based implementation. These are very exhaustive and give you a complete understanding of how we write interceptors, how do we perform certain operations in your service. And if you want to dive deeper into this, I'll attach a link in the information section. Please go through that. Then we have our list of components, everything that we will need in our product to render the experiences that we want, any constraints that we'll have at our project level. Then you have your context where we can see we have created cart context. This is something which we have implemented as a part of our use context implementation. I'll attach a link to that video in case you want to understand it a little better. Then all the product models that we are using. So we have your product definition and cart item, which is extending the product definition and just adding a new quantity, which is of number type. Then you have all your pages. So cart page, product details page, and product listing page. Then reducers that we will have. So this was covered as a part of our use reducer hook. A video link for this would also be available in the information section. And then you have all your routes of your application. This entire project is available as a zip in the description. If you want to start coding from today onwards, please go ahead, download the project. You would have to run npm install once, only once in the life cycle of the project, and then you can run npm start to get started with the project. The server for me is already running on port 3000, and once it's running, and you'll be able to see the experience. So here we can see we have the experience. When we click on view details, it fetches the details and showcases you that on screen. You'll be able to see various products, and when you add them to cart, you'll be able to see all of the quantities that you've added in your product, and the button changes itself. So this is something that we did as a customization in our previous video, the add to cart button customization. I'll add a link to that video as well. Now let's go ahead and start creating the cart experience. Right now, as we can see, cart shows a static content which is not related to the cart at all. So first, let's work on the functionality to get the products in cart. And once we have that, we will update the product tile to add some customizations in place. So let's start with cart page. We'll go to pages, open the cart page. And in here right now, we do not have much logic. It was just a static logic that we covered at the beginning of the application, which we don't need right now. So I'll remove everything. I'll remove this button. Now it will just show the cart page, and we don't need any of these. We'll import any dependencies that we need. First thing that we need is access to state, because we know everything that we are doing in our application gets written to the state, and this can be seen in the console. And if I add something to cart, here we can see the state gets updated with the items that are in cart. So you have this particular item with two quantities of the same item added. So as we can see, the two quantities have been added. If I add one more, you'll be able to see that two items are now added. One having quantity of 2, which is our previous one, and then another product which we added just now. So everything is there in our state. And let me just zoom in so that it's easier for everyone to read. So everything is available in our state. We just need to destructure the state in our component, and then we can go ahead from there. So coming back to this, so we'll destructure the state and use cart context, the custom hook that we created to access the state that we have created. That's good. Now we have access to state. And now one thing which we can do, we can use total. So total will be dependent on the items that are in state. So what we would do, we would do state.items.reduce. Reduce is a method available for all the arrays in JavaScript, where you can reduce a particular array to a single value. And that's what we are doing. So this takes two parameters, the accumulator that you want, and then the array object. And based on this array object, you will be able to perform some actions on your accumulator. So what we are doing is, we'll go to item.price into item.quantity. So now with this, we are updating our accumulator, and initial value of the accumulator would be 0. So that way you have your total calculation done. The total would be available based on the number of items you have in your cart. And let's do one more thing. So now whenever we are going here, we will update the document title. So document.title equals to, and now let's do one thing. So we'll create a constant. We haven't created any constants right now, but we'll create one. So constants.ts, and in here we can create a new string, export. So this is the name of your application, and this we can use in our, and here we can have app name and hyphen cart. So we are in the cart experience of our snap cart application. Let's import use effect, and we only want it to run once. And since we are doing it right now, we would have to do it for all the different pages as well. So just a sidebar that we can keep in mind. So right now, anyone who's familiar with React might already see that this total gets computed every time. So just to keep it simple, I'm not introducing use memo right now. But it's something that can be memoized because it won't change until the items in your cart change, the state changes, and that's something that it can rely on. But let's see what changes have we introduced in our application and how does it look right now. So we'll go and I'll click on cart, and we can see cart page with total of 298.19 cents. So that's good. We are able to see the total come up. So everything looks good right now. Now what do we need to do? We'll remove this markup and we'll start with a container. Let's import it from React Bootstrap. Everything will be in container. In H2 we can have your cart, and then we will check if state.items.length equals 0. There's nothing in our state. There are no items that have been added. So then we can return one section. How do we want to showcase if the state is empty? Else we will return the template where we are handling the items in our state. So for this, it's very simple. So let's just, for now, your cart is empty. Good enough. And for this one, let's start with a fragment. And inside this fragment, we can have a row. Let's iterate over all the items. So state.items.map, individual item that we have. Let's return the column. We definitely need a key to help React identify the individual elements. So this can be item.id because those would be unique. Then this should have take up full width for smaller layouts. Medium, it should be 6. And for extra large, let's make it 3 so that we see 4 items at a time. If you're not familiar with this, this is something that has already been covered as a part of our previous development. I'll attach a link to the video to understand the libraries that we are using in our project. So I've added all the dependencies. Now with this, inside each of these columns, what we would do, we would just load the product file. And what would be the product? So it will be items. We need products in product file. And that way we see now all the products would come up. Let's see if this comes up, and let's use the total as well. So underneath this row, we can add an H3 total, and you can have a certain extra decimal places. So we'll fix it to 2 length. This would show you total. And even though the button won't do anything, let's just add a button as well. Let's import the button from React Bootstrap. And here variant would be success. And let's add this text, checkout. Save this. Let's have a look at our application now. So this was your page, and in here we can see already the experience is looking a lot better. There are some spacing that we need to adjust. So let's add those spacing. First thing what I would like is, I would like to have some spacing between your cart heading and the total overall. And then additional some spacing beneath the total and the files above. So now to achieve the required spacing, we'll add the required class names. So class name, let's add margin Y4 on both of them. I'll just copy this and add it here as well. So now if I go back, we can see it's showing the appropriate spacing. That's good. Okay, now let's jump back to our product tile and add some customization. So first of all, let's open product tile. We need to update the prop first because we need to identify whether the product is in cart or no. So is file in cart page can be a Boolean property. It would be optional and would be of type Boolean. And in here, we will destructure that, and by default, it will be false. So if you provide it, we can turn it to true, but by default, let's use it as false. So here we have our view details button and we have our add to cart button. Instead of showing add to cart button, the first thing that we need to do is hide add to cart button, the experience that we see. Because right now what would happen, because the product that we are adding is there, right? So you can keep on clicking add to cart and this will keep on increasing. So we want to remove the product from cart once you're in cart experience. And we can show a different drop down to manage the quantities. And that's what we would do. So for this, we will take the newly created variable. So if file is in cart page, what do we need to do? Showcase some button, else we can showcase the add to cart experience that we already see. Let's say we should see that button should be gone from the page. If it's not, because we are not using the flag. So let's go to cart page. In product tile, we can just pass this. Since it's a Boolean prop type, you don't have to mention it explicitly as true. You can, but it's not mandatory. And once you pass it, it is thought to be as truthy, and we will see that it reflects immediately. So now our add to cart button is gone. Now let's add a fallback button which we want to showcase in our product tile. So this would again be a button. Variant, we can mark it as warning. You're about to remove something. And on click, we'll define a method for now. Okay, we'll execute this method. And class name, just let it be empty for now. We'll see if some margin needs to be added. Ideally, this button has an internal margin of 3. So to keep the experience very similar and ensure that it doesn't bounce around, let's just add the same margin as well. Yeah. Okay. And then we need an icon. So icon, I think cart icon is already available. So, and cart dash, yeah. So cart dash icon is available as a part of React Bootstrap. We are using React Bootstrap icons. You can go to the documentation and look for the icons that you want to use in case you want to customize it. And then you can have remove from. Now we need to define this, else we will continue to see an error on the page. Here we can see. So let's define it. Let's have a look at our application. Here we see remove from cart is there. We'll inspect. And if I click on any of these, we would be able to see removing the item comes up. And now removing the item is really easy. How do we do that? We already have a reducer in place. We can just dispatch the required action. Dispatch the type of action that we want. So type would be, it would automatically suggest us remove from cart because we've created these actions beforehand during our use reducer implementation. And then let's see payload. What does it expect? It would be expecting a product ID. So let's use product.id. So with this product ID, we'll be able to uniquely identify the product and remove it from cart. Let's have a look if it's working. We clicked on it. The product is gone. The total is updated. But that was really abrupt. So now what we can do, we can introduce a confirmation message or we can create a dialog as well. So either ways, modal dialog also works or a confirmation message would be good enough for now. So let's create a variable const confirmed is equals to window dot confirm. Are you sure you want to remove product from cart? And let's add a question mark. And if confirmed, then we can dispatch this action. Now it would be a better user experience and we will be able to take some preventive action in case we accidentally click on it. Are you sure you want to remove product from cart? I don't. So a much better user experience. So one thing down, one more to go. So now we also need to showcase the quantity of the product and ability to modify the quantities of the product that we have in cart. So for that, let's check that out. Where do we want to add that? We want to add it nearby the total. So right now we are only showing the item price. Now whenever we are in cart, we want to use price into quantity and show the total here. So let's implement that. This is the one which would come up conditionally now. Let's add that condition. Now, if is style in cart page, then we want to showcase something or something else. For something else, we already know what do we need to showcase. We need to showcase the product price. This and this. So one change that we would start to see right now immediately on the screen is the total would be gone because we are in cart page. For this, let's just add a placeholder div for now. And this would be a div. And inside this div, how do we want to structure it? We would definitely have a span. And this span would have your product dot price. So dollar amount of the product price, which we had before. And into let's represent it with X. So X, and then we want to showcase product. And then we want to showcase product dot quantity. Quantity is not coming up in product because by default, input that we are taking is of product type and not of cart type. So now we want to explicitly call out it would be either product or cart item. So here we have the model of cart item. And how do you ensure that if it's cart item or you can safely access it or not? What we would ideally do in this case is if file is in cart page and you have quantity in your product, that means you're of cart type. See, now automatically that error is gone because internally it was able to infer that now you're definitely in the cart item realm rather than the product realm. Now you will be able to access those properties. If you had more properties, you'll be able to access all of them now. And now here we want to put some emphasis, strong, and let's just showcase product. Same thing that we wrote there. Now everything would be within the computation block. So product dot price into product dot quantity. So this way we see now it will start to show. You see product price and quantity both are coming up. As we can see, there's an error in console. Div cannot appear as a descendant of paragraph tag. And that's because cart.text by default, if we see, cart.text is by default a paragraph element. In the React Bootstrap, they give us an option to customize that. So we can mention that, okay, please use div for this. So render this text as div and that error would go away now. So if I refresh, okay, so we don't have data persistence built into our application. We would have to add the products again. Let's add them back. So in here now we can add some more products in our cart. Let's add 4, go to cart and you will be able to see we are showcasing total at each of the individual items. Now let's go back. Yeah. Now let's go back. And in this one, we also want to showcase a drop down. So the drop down should come up here, and let's add that drop down. Just next to this, drop down, import from React Bootstrap, add some margin so that it should be properly spaced. So margin top 3, exact same thing. Now what text do we want to showcase in this toggle? So we will have this QTY quantity, short form of quantity, and we can have your product if available, then quantity. We should be good. And now we want to create a menu for this drop down. So drop down dot menu. And in this drop down menu, what do we want to do? How many options do we think ideally a person buys? Since this is not a B2B, business to business purchase where orders can be in thousands and 10,000s. In a normal retail application, at most you would want to buy a 5 or 10 items of a product, right? Not more than that. So let's limit this to 10, 10 or 11 quantities. Let's try that out. So here what we would do, we can create an array and 11 dot keys. So this is the short form of creating an array with 11 items. And then let's map over all of them. And this would be the quantity. That's what we are showcasing here. Now with this, we want to return a drop-down item, dot item. And this item will have a key of quantity. You're iterating over something, key is really important and has to be unique. On click, we will write a handler for now. So handle quantity change, because you're clicking on something and you want something to happen based on that. We can pass the quantity that we have. And in center, each of the options should just showcase us quantity. So now we're seeing an error. Let's understand what this says. So type array iterator or number can only be iterated through when using down level iteration flag or with a target of ES 2015 or higher. We might be using target configuration near tsconfig, which does not support this property yet. So what we can do instead is, instead of supporting this, we can safely go to ES 2015, right? Because this is something that's being used in the current version of the browsers. We are in 2024. ES 2015 should be a good fallback standard as of now. And now let's just define this handle quantity change. Quantity we can say of type number. Let's have a look. Great. Quantity came up. As we can see now, quantity is coming up on our screen. And let's just inspect it. We'll see and go to console, change the quantity. You are changing quantity to 6, so that's great. And now let's see if the quantity, similarly, we have a reducer configured. Let's use that reducer. What we can do, we can dispatch. The type can be update quantity, and this takes in two things as payload. If you want to have a look, you can also look at the reducer itself that we have configured. So cart reducer, we can see it takes in a product ID and quantity while updating. So payload product ID is product.id, and then you have your quantity, which would be your quantity that you're updating it to. No errors, and let's see if it gets updated. So I'll go and update the quantity to 6, total updated and quantity updated here as well. See, the event-based programming is really good, and you're able to see that it reflects immediately. Let's remove the console logs. We don't want any console logs until you're debugging something or just you're in the local development. It's a good practice to remove all of them. Let's style it properly. So we just to move it one next to other. Let's add the helper classes, whichever we needed. So in this div, top level div, first thing would be definitely display flex. So content between, so that they are properly center aligned vertically and they have appropriate space between them. And let's see, it's looking good. Let's see if we can shrink down the size here. Yeah, so I accidentally added the margin top, but this should be margin start. Yep. Size small is there. Okay, now it looks much better. So small size, and this is good. And let's add a margin top as well here. So some margin top and bottom. Now it's looking properly separated out. Great. So our product tile experience is updated. We can see the product tile going from here to here. And whenever you add something, for example, I'll add some new products, new quantities. If I go back to my cart page, we can see cart page reflects them. One thing which is missing is in cart, we are not able to see the number of quantities of products that you have added in your cart. So let's add that as well. This would be a change in our header. So we'll go to the header, and here we can see this is the cart link. Okay, so let's get access to state first. If we have the state available variable, and here what do we need to do? State dot items dot again reduce. So here we want to reduce it to a single value. And what do we want to reduce it to? So definitely it will start with 0. But what it should be reduced to, we just need to take the quantity into account, not the price here. So plus item dot quantity. Great. So we keep on updating. This will return the same value to accumulator, and it will keep on updating. So number of items in cart. Let's see if we can just showcase the number of items in cart here. And let's go to our header and see if 29 items. Great. This came up. Now we just need to style it properly. So this is how we incrementally add features to our application. You just go to your application, add something, have a look whether it's coming up, and then you can take a call. How do you want to style it? What are the business case around it and other things? If number of items in cart is greater than 0, then only we want to showcase this and then showcase something else. I don't have a fallback, so let's return null so that you do not showcase. So you can use the short circuit operator as well. So as in this double and I prefer to use the ternary operator so that we explicitly call out that we don't want to return anything here. Now in here, we'll use the same implementation, the badge based implementation that we have already done in our add to cart. So probably we can just go to add to cart button, take this, paste it here. The implementation remains exactly the same. And in here, this would change to items in cart, number of items in cart. And since we are adding position absolute here, we also need to have position relative to the corresponding parent element where we want to align this to. So in this, we would add, I'm forgetting if we added the class exact utility, but I hope that we did. Yes, we did. So here you can add multiple classes which you want to be there. So this way we have two classes now, and we see that whenever we have something changed, it is coming up. So 9 and I'll update it to 5. So it updated to 33. Great. So from 1 to 5, an increment to 4, 29 plus 4 is 33. So it's updating. And now whenever you go and add something, it will immediately start reflecting in your cart as well. So I'll click on this. See, the quantity is updating and it's reflecting in your cart. So you have 34 products in your cart in total, and it is looking good. So in today's session, we updated our product tile to show conditional content, whether it's on the normal product listing page or the cart page. Basis this, you are showing and hiding some additional fields. So you see this quantity section and remove from cart button is selectively added. When you want to remove something, it asks you for a confirmation. If you cancel, it doesn't remove that. And similarly, ideally, whenever you're setting the quantity to 0, the same thing should happen because you're trying to remove something. You have 0 quantity, it should be removed from the product. So let's add that logic as well. So here we want to add a logic. So we are asking for a confirmation that you're setting this to 0. If you proceed, it will remove the product from cart. If they proceed, then what we can do, we can dispatch an event, which would be same remove from cart. Or what we can do, we can just make this message as string, which should be customizable, but optional. So this becomes optional. And if you have a message, then show the message. Else, show the default message that we have. And in here, we can just delegate the responsibility to remove from cart. So now we are not repeating ourselves. And we have this remove from cart method being called if quantity is 0. Else we dispatch this update quantity. You're able to remove something by setting the quantity to 0, and you will see the confirmation message come up. So now I'll just update it to 3, and now I'll go back and update it to 0. You see setting quantity to 0. Setting quantity to 0 will remove the product from cart. Proceed. No, I don't want to. So it stops me right there. It's good enough implementation. That's all we had to do in today's video. So hopefully you were able to follow along and make these updates in real time. The product tile is now completely configurable and switches between whether it's loading in the product listing page and the cart page. And then you also have the quantity drop down that comes up. You're able to change the quantity. If you set it to 0, the remove operation is logically triggered. And same happens when you try to remove something from cart. So that's it for today. In the next session, we will update our application and refine it a little. We'll fix these spacing errors that you see. We will make the header come at the center. All the links should be at the center. We will have a theme switcher here. And that would, I think, be good enough for our application. So that would be the final video of the series. And after that, since React 19 is already out, we will try to upgrade this application to React 19 and see how we go from there. Thank you for joining in. Have a good day.